Welcome to Son Coaches Podcast, Season 10, the Legend Series. And as I am every week joined by our resident legend, the man, the myth, the incomparable one, the executive director of the Georgia Fired Coaches Association, Coach Ed Gafka. Thanks, as always, for being on with me.
Yes, sir. Happy to do it and looking forward to another week of football.
Yeah, man. So we got week one officially in the books. We had some great matchups. I think it goes without saying. I'm sure some people may argue. Of course, they will argue. That's what we want them to do. But that Milton North Cobb game was a freaking ball game, Jack. Two really good teams, very well coached, and your boy, Coach Reeves, decided he was going to go for the win and go for two and not the tie in overtime. Man, what a call. Of course, it works. He's a genius. It doesn't. What the hell is he thinking? But in our universe, we think absolutely go for it. What a great game. What a great call.
Absolutely. I think when you look at it, and they hadn't beaten North Cobb in 36 years, which is just a very odd sentence because of how good Milton has been, in recent memory, especially. But, for the kind of ebbs and flows of that game and seeing how everything kind of led to, hey, they score. And I felt like, you're at home, number one. So it's pretty easy to say, hey, let's just play in overtime. We got this. But, you can tell that the defense is, a little gassed, little hurt. So, yeah, we got the best player on the field. Let's just go. So, then you just put your nuts on the table and say, let's get after it. And it paid off. So, yeah, great first game. Almost kind of like getting a monkey off your back if you're Milton, just because of the history with North Cobb. I think that is, I think your team takes on the identity of your coach a lot of times. And when win or lose, I'm sure that there's times where that call is obviously not going to pay off for them. But it's the fact that you trusted your kids. The kids understood that. The kids had the confidence. The kids had the ability to sit there and execute when they needed to because, hey, we're going to make Coach right here because, hey, we feel like we're bulletproof. That's great. So, yeah, kudos to Milton staff and the Milton program on that one. And congrats to Coach Reeves on getting that monkey off his back against North Cobb.
No rest for the weary as they play Blessed Trinity this week, and that made it into your game notes, one of your game notes this week, the Catholics versus the Convicts. That was awesome.
Yeah, I think that, naturally, anytime you put something out like that, there's this assumption that the Catholics in that is the, Blessed Trinity folks and the convicts are the Milton folks. And, again, that's up for debate, up for perception. Whatever your perception is, I think that's a you problem. Now, one is a Catholic school and one is not. But they're both in Fulton County, and I think that you can't have better coach matchup of just like you have Ed Dudley, who I think is an excellent football coach. He's a Hall of Famer, right? I think he does an excellent job, and obviously you have Ben Reeves on the other sideline, who again Ben's dad coached against, Ed Dudley when I think Ed Dudley was at like Buford. So, it's wild how paths end up crossing. But yeah, you want to talk about just another really great football game for a Friday night and seeing as how that was kind of an emotional high for Milton. You wonder how they're going to recalibrate, refocus to be able to go and play another excellent football team in Blessed Trinity that went against a overmatched Decatur team in the first week. I do think what I found the most interesting when doing the game notes is obviously Blessed Trinity being a Catholic school, and they they're literally named Blessed Trinity. It's God, Father, Holy Spirit right there. and their mascot is a Titan. I don't know. I don't know if it was maybe like a bishop or a cardinal or somebody within the Catholic Church that had to sign off on that, but I do feel it necessary to point out the fact that you could have gone with like Crusaders or like any other. I'm glad they didn't do Lions because I think every Christian school, I mean, we get it. It's Lion, awesome, but let's not do something from Greek mythology where Titans ended up, killing Zeus. I don't know. Just seems like they missed an opportunity there. And ultimately, when you look at it, an eagle is definitely mentioned in the Bible as a very biblical animal. So from where I sit, who's getting the favor of God in this matchup? It might be Milton. I mean, let's just call spade a spade here. And I think I don't know of anybody who's Catholic that's like bragging about being Titans. You know what I mean? Like that seems like a stretch. So yeah, I'm excited for that game though, and I really believe that we're in for a good one on Friday with that.
Yeah, that's going to be a good game. Two excellent coaches, excellent staffs. And speaking of which, there's many matchups this past week like that, and the Coffee Parkview matchup got sideways quickly. Two really good coaching staffs, two really good traditional teams, but Coffee's on a heater these last few years. Coach Co and company are doing a great job down there. And those little babies that were 10th graders last year have grown up, and they have got some granimals down there.
No, absolutely. And to be honest with you, I honestly see that Parkview team being where this coffee team is this year, right? I think that Parkview is still getting their legs up from under them. They've got a lot of 10th graders. They've got a lot of young football players on that roster. And I think when you really look at both teams, I don't think Parkview came out as the aggressor. And I think against a coffee team that's going to run at you and hit you in the mouth, you really got to meet them and, not necessarily be as timid as I felt like um, everything was happening. So I really do feel it necessary that we mentioned Coffee did complete some forward passes. Um, so hats off, to Coffee. Again, hey, do you? But I mean, I'm telling you that was impressive. So I think Coffee just went up a notch in my book of just all right. Where do you see them at the end of the year? And that's another team that you look at and say if they stay healthy and if they can get the right breaks, they're a team that can give everybody on their schedule a headache.
Yeah, they're good. And, of course, they're in a tough region. They're gonna have a tough matchup this week, a local rivalry game down there. I believe Coffee's playing Ware County, and, so that'll be a big one in week 2 for them to, play. And then up in your neck of the woods, one of the games that was very impressive, it looked like it was gonna be a runaway early, and, them Dragons made a comeback. They had a do-better meeting at halftime, and Jefferson Calhoun game was a good one.
Rematch of state championship, I want to say 2 years ago, and I think Calhoun is such a good football. Both these programs are excellent football programs. I think that you're sitting there at 21-0 at half, and now you're battling the hey, do we have the game in hand mindset from the kids versus like Jefferson, your back's against the wall. Do you want to get your ass embarrassed and have a long bus ride home, or are you going to get out there and start fighting a little bit and start inching back into this thing? And interesting part is Jefferson had the ball in hand at the end with an opportunity to go down there, potentially get in field goal range to win it on a kick. But I think that it's a testament to Coach Nolan and that staff for getting them refocused, recalibrated, and shutting them out in the second half and making it a tight game. That's another really good PSR matchup to where that game's not going to hurt either team. Win or lose, you're not worried about it, right? Because I do think that that's a very, very good getting out of the gate for them. And now Jefferson has like some South Carolina. I think very good South Carolina program, South Side, West Side, something in Carolina. I don't know, but they're that's a very good program coming in. And then I forget who Calhoun has, but again, I really impressed with adjustments that were made, on the Jefferson side at halftime, and firmly believe that, you know, no matter what their non-region, record ends up being, it's going to be a tough out for anybody because you obviously see against a team like that, they're going to be able to make it interesting if you don't keep your foot on their throat.
Well, talk about being embarrassed. Thomas County Central put the absolute whoop stick on Moultrie in Colquitt County this weekend, and I saw something that had your fingerprints all over it. I can't confirm nor deny that you were behind this, but I saw a picture of the skylight of Moultrie, Georgia, and a bat signal, and instead of the calling for Batman, they had a picture of your boy Coach Probst on there.
I mean, you know, I did not have anything to do with it. Kudos to them. On that. I did talk with Coach Sean Calhoun, and he said, yeah, they're really really good. And I talked to Coach Justin Rogers as well, and I think that ultimately, what happens, right? You have the lightning delayed game and start till 9 o'clock, right? You're already going through it, but there were a couple opportunities in that game that I think if the ball bounces one way or the other, it's definitely a closer game for longer. But the interesting part with Thomas County Central right now that I see is even if you can score with them, which I don't think you're going to be able to, just because their defense is not. I mean, that's not a slouch on defense; it's a good defense, but I just don't know how you're going to stop them for 4 quarters. I think 28 points is a minimum every game, and you know that's being nice. That's being conservative. So I definitely see that. I also think that Colquitt County's quarterback coming from private school football to playing in Thomas County Central game one in that atmosphere, he handled that very well, all things considered. I think he's going to be a very good quarterback as the year goes on. But that was throwing somebody into the fire. And, he had some really good moments, but also he had some oh shit moments where it's like, yeah, this moment is huge at the moment. And, so again, another game doesn't hurt either one of them.
No, that's one good thing about the PSR. These early losses and point differentials not taken into consideration. I don't think, and it won't matter. They're both going to win a lot of games. They're both well coached. They both have players. But Thomas County Central, absolutely loaded. And somebody that I told you last week was loaded because I saw them up close and personal. Toombs County opened up a can, a barrel, or whatever you want to say of whoop it on daggone Benedictine, and that was one of the more shocking outcomes of the week one scores.
No, I saw that, and I think it's not that teams won; it's the way that they won, right?
Correct.
Like I mean, I think that it was. You could have told me you could have picked Milton, or you could have picked Toombs and told me that like, hey, Toombs is going to win, and I probably said, okay, yeah, no, I can justify that. That's the way they won. I mentioned it, or I explained it in, the overreactions and framed it with Thomas County Central that basically teams did the same thing to Benedictine where, they told Benedictine to go out in the woods and pick out the switch for daddy to beat that ass with. And that's what they did. So, and if you don't pick out the right one, I'm going to go pick it, So you don't want that. But that's what happened. And, I think a lot will be gained from that at Benedictine. I think that they are in for another, anything, that's why I call them overreactions because especially with so little data, right? We've seen these teams in their costumes one time, and because up in this area, Habersham gets beat by Hart County 51-3. Nobody saw that coming. Um, I mean that was same concept. Go pick out the switch, and you know I think that if that's all you're basing it off of, like, yeah, you sit there and say, "Oh, this is terrible, that's terrible." Now, I think that when you look at them 100% objectively on it, uh, you see some things that definitely confirm some of your preseason kind of suspicions in some areas. But you also look at it and say, "Hey, I need to, I'm going to go and talk to that coach and see exactly maybe, hey, what went right, what went wrong." And for the most part, the stuff that went wrong is things that are easily fixable. And then on some hands, with some of these teams, you had kids that were out week one, or they were going through something, and you hope that, I mean, hell, they're teenage kids, and you're able to do it. But some of these places don't have depth to replace that kid that might be going through something. And sadly, that's the difference in a effective game plan and a non-effective game plan. So, I think that's where I'm going to be interested to see how a lot of these teams that were down for the count, you know, early in these games this past week, see how they can get off the mat and respond this week.
Well, another game that was very similar to that and same kind of situation, you could have told me that Heard County was going to beat Central Kelton, or you could have told me that Central Kelton was going to beat Heard County, and I'd have said, oh, no, okay. But good Lord have mercy. Heard County looks like they're the team to beat in the classification that I coach in, and kind of knew that going in, and boy, did they get off to a raucous start as they opened up went to the woods, picked out the switch, and sent somebody back for some more against Central Carrollton this past week.
Yeah, which I think that is probably the biggest highlight of okay, that game stood out as a game that, yeah, Heard County winning isn't that big of a surprise. But again, manner in which they won, it was definitely one of those where, yeah, it doesn't matter what classification you are, they did beat your ass, and they did. So good luck. So kudos to them and their staff. Again, I still think Central Carrollton's a good football team. I don't know if how they're gonna respond after this. But you know, my gut's telling me that there's a really good shot at a lot of these teams who got embarrassed week one will even the score this week and be a 1-1 football team come Friday.
Ain't no doubt, Coach. And hey, coaches, if you need to raise money, check out Scoreboard Fundraising. In the past year, they've helped more than 1,000 teams across the Southeast run simple, effective fundraisers from popcorn to online donations. Call Mike James at 770-680-3424 or visit scoreboardfundraising.com. A lot of teams I know are using these guys. As a matter of fact, I'm going to talk to Mike this week and record with him. He'll be on the podcast next week telling his story, where he came from and his background. But one thing I can tell you he's good at is helping high school football teams raise money. Again, that's Mike James at 770-680-3424 with scoreboardfundraising.com, our season 10 sponsor here at Some Coaches Podcast. Coach, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention the fact that one of the blue blood, or it has been in the past 2 decades, at least since you went to school and have graduated and gotten into the business, is 0-2. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that they can't have a cotton candy schedule anymore and just have 2 games they got to play every year. They're playing dudes every week. But Grayson is 0-2. What do you make of that? Is it time to be worried, or are they still in good shape?
I'm not worried, right? Like I think that when you look at it from a standpoint of some of what they are missing right now on the back end of the defense, just from an injury standpoint, as well as up front on both offensive and defensive line, you can kind of see where some of the holes are and where it's going to be big to get some of those guys back in the next couple of weeks. This is a bye week for them before they play Langston Hughes. And, I firmly believe that you don't start panicking just yet, just because the two teams you lost to, North Gwinnett and Sandy Creek's the defending state champion, and North Gwinnett went to the semis last year, which is farther than Grayson went last year. So you do have those two scenarios, but I think that there was definitely an improvement in the quality of play from week 1 to week 2. Now, that's coming from like a logical standpoint. Obviously, the Grayson faithful that made it miserable for Jeff Heron to leave after 1 year, they're going to sit there and expect you to boat race everybody by 100 points, and that's just not a reality I care to even humor. So, I firmly, and I mean firmly, believe that Coach Carswell's going to get it figured out. I think you don't start panicking until, all right, honestly, there's no sense in overreacting to it until, like, if they go and get shut out by Hughes, yeah, my warning meter raises. And then here's the thing. Then they have Buford. Then they have Brunswick. So you tell me how easy it is, right? That's that's the part for me that I think you got to take everything into consideration when you look at. There's no other team that has that 5-game stretch, and as a first year head coach, that's a challenge. So it's going to be key for them to get healthy guys back. Once they get healthy guys back, I think you're going to see a much better prepared football team that's going to do what we expect Grayson to do.
And that's win a bunch of games, and I'm sure they will. Coach Carswell will get it figured out. He's one of the best in the business, one of the best defensive minds out there, and I know he's probably. I know he ain't happy about the start, but it ain't like they've played Our Lady of the Blind, Deaf, and Dumb the first two weeks, and here we are in a week that, in my opinion, and a lot of old heads' opinion, this week ought to be the scrimmage week. And then we would maybe start the first game of the season next week for lots of reasons. It's finally getting a break in the weather. But the thing that's causing the break in the weather is a lot of storms and lightning and stuff like that. I know we were delayed. We went to go scout Upson Lee in Lamar County, and it got delayed. And then our boss said, y'all don't have to stay. So we said, say less, and came on back to the house. And I'm glad we did. We just watched it on video on the huddle. But lightning delays were all over the state, to the point where some schools moved their games to the next day. There'll be more of that again this weekend, Coach.
Absolutely. We are going to be riddled with lightning delays. And, that's the unfortunate part is, Squidward show, whenever you're stacking these coaches coming in and wanting to provide the updates, it makes it a challenge whenever you do have these popcorn finishes in South Georgia. Like Justin Rogers at TCC, they didn't finish until midnight. We're signing off at that point. So, it's definitely a challenge. But as we keep moving forward, hopefully we have less of that, and we're able to really crank out coaches in an efficient manner. Because, we want to hear from every corner of the state, and I think that's definitely going to be the goal.
Well, Coach, you said there wasn't much for you to get fired up about, but I've got something. I don't know if it's going to fire you up, but it fired me up last week, and it just goes into the category for me of, well, that checks out. So, the GHSA provides coaches with their coaching passes through Dragonfly now, so it's all digital. So we fill out our stuff, we turn it in, and they come back and tell our head coach that due to some kind of fine of not taking the rules test from the staff prior to us, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever. 2 community coaches that didn't do anything about it last year, but now this year, not even knowing that we had the fine, your other coaches that you have on your staff, we ain't giving none of them a coaching pass until this fine gets dealt with. Okay. So 2 weeks ago, sends the check in. Let's go. All right, y'all are going to scout, blah, blah, blah. Hey, coach, have you heard from GHSA or, Dragonfly? We're gonna get our passes, or we gonna whatever. So he calls the GHSA, and this is what he was told. The lady, singular, that handles that was out last week with the pneumonia. We sure are sorry. She's working on it right now. So he talks to the lady that the only person they got that handles this situation, and we're not the only ones. And she says, "Well, I sure am sorry. I've been sick, and I got a list of all these schools that I've got to get done. I might get to y'all, or I might not. I just don't know." So luckily, we made some phone calls, talked to some ADs, and they're like, "Hey, yeah, don't worry about it. We'll get you guys in on your pass." But I just figured, as far as the GHSA and that juggernaut of an organization that runs things, and obviously is better than what they're doing in Texas, because the kid comes and he's going to Buford now because he can graduate in December. And I'm just saying, there's a whole lot of places he could have gone and made better that'll let you graduate in December. But yeah, that's what the GHSA pulled on us last week, Doctor.
Do they get their employees from assisted livings? I mean, I don't mean that in as negative as a way as some might take it, but you said pneumonia, and I'm sitting there going, I mean, how old is this woman? Um, I think that, like, what I'm envisioning is a old lady that has like a dang shawl or an afghan that just like sits at her desk while she bangs these things out, but any slight hint of a cold ends up being pneumonia because she has taken nothing but 2 Advils and a Dr. Pepper every day since the beginning of time. Um, so to me, yeah, I think maybe let's inject a little, just a little bit of young blood in there, right? Nobody that can. I mean, problem with injecting young blood in there is obviously if she is from the assisted living, chances are the young person's going to bring something in. She's going to catch it. She's going to take it to the assisted living, and then everybody's just going to die, and it's going to be a tough deal. So I think we got to find a much cleaner way to increase our efficiency, especially when we have a slush fund of like 12 mil. So I mean, throw a mill my way, I'll do that shit for you.
Well, let's throw this out there. How about let's get her some help? How about let's
Yeah.
let's let her have a staff. Let's hire some people with this. This is ridiculous. This just
Yeah,
falls
but,
under the
but
same.
the problem is she's going to hire the people at the same assisted living, so now we've not increased our efficiency. What we've done is increased our chances of contracting additional levels of pneumonia. Is what we've done. So I don't know. I don't know if you know because again, I don't know what their standard operating procedure or the average age of employees at the GHSA, because I feel like right now the standard is, hey guys, if you're on staff here, it's typically your second career, right? Like you've already retired from teaching or something, and now you're just looking to do something, pass the time, whatever. And what better place than doing it in, Thomaston, Georgia? It's great. I mean, some people retire at the damn beach. You go to Thomaston. Those are the people I want working for me. That's great. I firmly believe, though, we got to find a way to increase our efficiency and decrease our average age in the building.
Well, if it'll ease your mind at all, I know who the lady is, and she's not elderly. But
Oh, thank God.
the thing is that I don't understand every time we say something, every time you say something, every time I say something, anytime anybody says anything, we get the same response. It's, well, we only have 7 people working here. Well, how about fix it? Fix it. Hire more people. I mean, get an intern, find a kid, somebody, anybody to do some of this other stuff that a trained goat could do. But no, we're not going to do that. We're going to keep figuring out, and we're going to keep lying and saying, no, we don't set our schedule by the availability of the bins. That's not what we do. Man, quit peeing in my face and tell me it's raining. I mean, it's constant. And we're putting kids. I mean, last week we had 130-degree or 110-degree heat indexes, and there's no way anybody practiced outside in the afternoon. If they did, they were breaking the rules. But we're going to play football in August because that's the only way the season's going to time up so that we can play in the bins. And I mean, it's just the whole deal with, we only have one person who's in charge of this, and she was sick. So because she was sick, we're screwed. We don't have, nobody else could possibly handle figuring out coaching passes.
Well, I think the interesting part is UHSA has been around since 1908, and they have, I assume, always had 7 people. So since 1908, they've only had 7 people. And now, I'm not saying that everybody in there was also working in 1908. I think that only a handful have. So, but I think that those are the people you got to worry about getting pneumonia. So let's keep them away from any sickness. But, as an organization grows and the needs of that organization grow, you need to responsibly do it. I mean, here's the thing, you're not out there building some mansion of an office. But here's the other thing. Maybe flex a little bit. I mean, you got that much money in reserve. You tell me you can't have a nice building with some, let's have some pomp and circumstance too. I mean, like, flaunt it if you got it, kind of thing. But when it comes down to, if you ask all the GHSA member schools, hey guys, we need to hire, 3 additional people. This is what that'll look like financially for us, and this is what, y'all can expect maybe a change in that certain area. There's a lot of people in as the member school that would say, hey, if that means that we get answers to questions and rulings and eligibility faster, do it. Because right now it's not worth it working.
Yeah, we'll pay extra money, hands down. Up the dues. I don't care how much make the coaches pay them individually. Whatever you're charging a school, charge it for every coach. That'd be fine if you're getting something out of it. And another thing that we're not getting out of, coach, is officiating. And I saw that you put a post on there. Was a catch or no catch in the Flowery Branch North Forsyth game.
Yeah, I got sent in. Somebody said it wasn't a catch. Then I got a DM saying they actually met for 30 seconds and 30 additional seconds and figured out that it was, in fact, not a catch. I'm very happy to learn that they obviously came together and made that correct ruling. My question, though, is still, how the shit didn't you see that the first time? I mean, no part of that kid was in bounds. But in hindsight, I'm sitting there going, maybe they'll focus on knee pads, right? Maybe they will focus their eyes somewhere else. But the problem is, in no reality is that ever a catch. But I mean, hell, I would have been sitting there if I'm on the home sideline like that. I'm sitting, yeah, no, it's a catch. He got his foot in, 100%. Let's try to again. You're at home. You expect to hopefully get at least like one, couple calls go your way. But even that, you can't even justify because it's so obvious. So glad they got that correct and cleaned up. But, it could have been a lot worse. They could have ruled that complete and first and goal like they initially did. So kudos to them for fixing it.
Well, Coach, that's just one of the several things that you enjoy receiving from people that help us out with our topics every week. And Now that you've started the Fired Coaches Network on the YouTube channel and the scoreboard show, tell everybody a little bit about that, the network, what it entails, and what all they can expect, and what are some things they can send to you that you'd be likely to share on the Fired Coaches Network.
Yeah, so we're going to do some original content on that as we continue to build out because we've been lucky enough to be approached by some people who are much more educated than I am, who are very good at that kind of stuff. I know what I'm mediocrely good at, but it's not doing all of that. And so what we're going to be working on is some exclusive content that'll be broadcast on the YouTube page of Fire Coaches Network, where it's going to be some 10-minute coaching, quick coaching interviews, quick hitter type stuff. It's also going to be able to break out some of the clips from the scoreboard show. We're going to have some dedicated times and slots for some different aspects. But you know, if you're somebody who does freelance at these places and have highlights or plays that you catch on your phone or your camera, and you want to upload it and put it on Fire Coaching Network, absolutely, I'll give you all the credit for it, and we'll just put it out there so it can get the attention. Feel free to DM me or shoot me a email at firecoachesgeorgia at Gmail. But yeah, easiest way is definitely just shoot me a DM on Twitter or uh, hit me up in any other of the other aspects. But yeah, so we will be live broadcasting the scoreboard show as always from both X and YouTube. Um, and we will have in that first from 10 to about 10:20, 10:30, while games are all winding down, we will typically have one or two people that we've already reached out to be on and give a little bit more of a long form interview as the scores start rolling in. But yeah, we're hopeful. We've got some good folks in the hopper right now for this week, and just kind of ironing all of that stuff out as we speak. But ultimately, we're only as good or as effective as the information you provide us. And I firmly believe that, yeah, I would want it to be y'all's show and show for the coaches, show for the fans. So whatever y'all have, send it to me. If you are enjoying, shoot me a message and be happy to get you on there and let you promote your program. Also, don't just do it when you win. That's easy. That's the easy part. Do it when you lose as well. Kudos to Ashley Henderson. They lose game one. Guess what he does? He jumps on and he controls the message, right? And I think that's such a massive piece of it. It's really easy to only jump on when you win. But people want to hear from the coach when they lose. It's just more about, all right, is he getting on there and doing a bunch of coach speak? It's the easiest kind of conversation you'll ever have. But, what I want to make sure is very clear is I ain't going to let you get away with a bunch of coach speak. So, Jay Lee might, I just won't. So that's just kind of the cat and mouse there. But I think that it benefits you. I hope that we can get as many coaches from as many parts of the state on as we can. So, yeah, reach out to me. Happy to send you anything and put anything out there.
Coach, what are some games this week that you're looking forward to in week 2?
That Dodge County's got their first game. I think getting them off the bus will be interesting. I think there is obviously that Milton Bus Trinity. I just think it's a good football game. I think that's a really good football game. McKeithen's going down and playing in Miami or Broward County, somewhere down there. I think they play like Thursday, maybe. Yeah, I think Thursday. Should be a really good game. Thomas County Central's going down to Tallahassee because I think part of that pipeline is an agreement to where they get to come down there and be broadcast on television in Tallahassee. Which again, how else are you going to get more Tallahassee kids if you're not on the TVs? That's a big brain move by Coach Rogers. And see that those are just little nuggets that you need to make sure that you get. Definitely Coffee-Ware County. That's another just excellent football game. Let's see. Commerce starts their season against East Jackson in the Apple Valley Classic. And then you have Habersham and Stevens County. Both teams 0-1. Stevens lost at Gilmer to a Paul Standard Splitback beer and just got just mashed off the football left and right by a bunch of mountain kids that just, I mean, they wake up, they it's like they're going to the coal mines every day and they just come out pissed off and they just block the shit out of you. So they got to experience that. That is a long-standing rivalry. Benji Harrison is a Stevens County grad. So, after beating them last year, it could be interesting. Thomas Flowers, the head coach at Stevens County, looking to etch his name there. But yeah, I mean, I think that there's just a very similar to where there's going to be some games that just surprise you. I think this week that are just maybe off the radar, but it's not going to surprise me if we all tune into that game, like a Heard County or like a Toombs versus Benedictine, where you're like, oh shit, we wasn't expecting that. So yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see how this plays out. I feel like everybody in Hall County deserves a win. Everybody lost in Hall County, including Gainesville, as a public school this past week, 0-8 as a county, which I do find to be unique. I think that you can also tell who has a sense of humor as coaches and who doesn't based on their response to that tweet. So remember, relax, okay? Relax. It's satire on that, okay? It's tongue in cheek is what it is. And ultimately, if any of those coaches, are honest with themselves, the joke isn't that you're 0-8, right? The joke is the fact that there has been a very contentious relationship between Gainesville and Hall County schools since the Josh Niblett era began. So I think, the act of solidarity was a really good move for you guys. And now there's almost like a little truce in place. I firmly believe that, most of those teams in Hall County will have a really good shot at getting their first win this week. Couple of them, not a shot in hell. Not a shot in hell. I love you, but there's there's a better chance of, frogs flying out your ass than them winning this week. So we will see if you can get one maybe next week, but it ain't this week. You got too many knee knockers at running back, so it ain't gonna work. But yeah, we'll keep in our thoughts and prayers for sure. Hopefully they're able to get a W on the board sooner or later, because right now it's just not good football from some people. It's not good football. So but we will continue to hope the Lord blesses them with some talent in that, on that field, and the ball bounces their way so they can experience the euphoria that is a win.
Ain't no doubt. And the only one I can tell you about, I know one thing. We rolled up into Burnsville Friday night to play the Lamar County Trojans. Very good and well-coached team. We'll be one less because the young man made some bad decisions last year in the playoff game, and he's got a one-game suspension. So one of my starter offensive linemen, he won't be making the trip with us. So if you're curious about getting off the bus, well, there'll be one less getting off the bus than normal. So we won't have him. But beautiful facility when they redid that place. It's very nice. I got a family that lives in Barnesville. My great grandfather had a church there for 30, 40 years. And You know, they're a very good team coming off region championship last year and coming off a big win against Upson Lee. We'll see. It's game one. Who knows? Anything could happen. We may win by one or two, or we may lose by 1,000. There, who knows? It could end in a tie. You never know with the weather. We may have to come back and play it again on Saturday. But I know this: we appreciate everyone listening. We appreciate you tuning in, and we ask you to like, subscribe, and share, and remember to relax. It's just satire, mostly.